Hello everyone. Today's English class will be delivered by teacher of English language Jексенбай Жамиля Айдаркызы. In grade 3, the topic is called Marco Polo. First, look at these pictures. What are those children doing? Who are they? Please analyze the picture and try to answer these questions. I hope you gave us correct answers. They are young explorers. They are investigating something, or they are exploring something. Look at this picture now. Try to guess who this person is. Probably you know this person from some books. I believe you know who the person is. His name is Marco Polo. So today we are going to listen to and read a story about Marco Polo, to enlarge vocabulary stock, to practice talking about actions in the past. So these are the lesson objectives for today's lesson. First, we are going to work on vocabulary. Here, on this presentation, you can see the words and their symbols. By looking at the pictures, you can quickly and easily identify the meaning of these new words. The first word is journey. Journey. When you travel from one place to another. Arrive. Arrive. In the past, it will be arrived. Arrived. When you come to one place, for example, come to school, come home. Next, palace. Palace. Probably you know the meaning of palace from the fairy tales. You can see this kind of place in fairy tales where the kings lived. Emperor. Emperor. Emperor is a person who ruled the empire. Again, you can see emperors in the films and movies. Next, prison. Prison. Prison is a place where the criminals live because of doing bad things and being punished. War. War. War is a time when two countries fight against one another. Writer. Writer. Writer is a person who writes novels, plays, and scripts. Explorer. Explorer. Explorer is a person who studies, researches, or investigates something like new places or new concepts. Now we are going to read a text about Marco Polo. Marco Polo started his journey to China when he was 17 years old. He arrived at the palace at Kublai Khan, the emperor of China. Kublai Khan liked Marco Polo because he was very clever. Marco Polo worked for the emperor for 17 years. Marco Polo left China in 1292. 3 years later, Marco Polo arrived in Venice. In 1298, there was a war between Venice and Genoa. Marco Polo ended up in prison. In prison, Marco Polo met a writer. Marco told him about China, and he wrote a book called The Travels of Marco Polo. Today, we know a lot about China because of Marco Polo. People call Marco Polo one of the greatest explorers of all time. Now, you are going to read the text again and put those sentences in the right order. Marco Polo left for China. The writer wrote a book called The Travels of Marco Polo. He worked for the Emperor of China for 17 years. He told a writer about China. He fought in the war and ended up in prison. He returned to Venice in 1295. Before reading the text, you will also listen to the text. Please read the text and listen to it parallelly and do the task of putting the sentences in the right order. Go ahead.
Marco Polo started his journey to China when he was 17 years old. He arrived at the palace of Kublai Khan, the Emperor of China. Kublai Khan liked Marco Polo because he was very clever. Marco Polo worked for the Emperor for 17 years. Marco Polo left China in 1292. 3 years later, Marco Polo arrived in Venice. In 1298, there was a war between Venice and Genoa. Marco Polo ended up in prison. In prison, Marco Polo met a writer. Marco told him about China and he wrote a book called The Travels of Marco Polo. Today, we know a lot about China because of Marco Polo. People call Marco Polo one of the greatest explorers of all time.
Now, let's check our answers. So, on this presentation, you can see the answer key. B is number 6. C is number 2. D is number 5. E is number 4. And F is number 3. Check yourself. I hope that all of our students didn't make any mistakes and have all correct answers. Today we have learned vocabulary and read about Marco Polo and learned very interesting information about his life. I think that the lesson was very useful for you, and now it's time to reflect on our learning. In order to identify what have we learned, you are going to answer the questions. How do you know you learned it? Did you learn something? If yes, how did you know that you learned it? What questions do you still have? Probably you have some questions in your mind. And what are these questions? Think about them and try to ask your teacher. What was confusing for you? In both listening and reading tasks, was something confusing? Confusing means probably you know the answer, but you are not sure enough. And how would you teach this lesson? To your partner or classmates? What would you like to change? So this is the end of class. I enjoyed my times that was spent with my lovely students, and your home task will be to learn the vocabulary, to translate them into your native language and create some sentences with them. So next lesson you will not have any problems related to vocabulary and past tenses of some words. I hope that you also enjoyed the lesson. So, see you next time. Goodbye, my dear students.